Your child just walked up to a stranger in a grocery store and started talking like they've known them for years. No hesitation, no fear, just an open, easy smile. You feel a jolt of panic. You've told them 100 times to be careful, but somewhere in their brain, none of that warning has taken hold yet. Here's the strange part. This isn't a failure of parenting. It isn't a flaw in your child. It's biology doing exactly what it evolved to do. For most of human history, a baby who didn't trust the people around it didn't survive. Infants are born completely helpless. They can't feed themselves. They can't protect themselves. They can't even hold their own heads up. Survival depended on forming fast, deep bonds with whoever showed up to care for them. The psychologist John Bowlby spent decades studying this. He called it attachment theory. His research showed that infants are wired to bond quickly with consistent caregivers, and that this bonding instinct isn't really aimed at one specific person. It's aimed at anyone who behaves like a caregiver. Anyone warm, anyone attentive, anyone who smiles back. Think about what that means. Your child's brain isn't built to ask, is this person safe? It's built to ask a much simpler question. Is this person nice to me right now? And almost every adult, when interacting with a small child, is nice to them right now. That's the trap. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Children don't just trust adults because they're helpless. They trust adults because, developmentally, they're almost incapable of imagining that an adult would want to hurt them. Psychologist Kong Lee has spent years studying how children detect lies and deception. His research found something surprising. Very young children are shockingly bad at spotting when someone is being deceptive, especially when that person is an adult. Why? Because lying requires the listener to hold two realities in their head at once. What the person is saying, and what might actually be true underneath it. That skill, called theory of mind, doesn't fully develop until around age 4 or 5. Before that, a child's brain takes information at face value. If a stranger smiles and says, "I have candy in my car," a 4-year-old brain doesn't have the wiring yet to question the intention behind it. There's no radar for hidden motives. There's just the surface, and the surface says friendly. This is why stranger danger campaigns from decades ago mostly failed. Researchers studying childhood safety education, including work referenced by developmental psychologist Elizabeth Talbot's studies on danger recognition training, found that children could recite the rule, "Don't talk to strangers," perfectly, and then walk right up to a stranger anyway, 5 minutes later, in a real-world test. Why? Because the rule lives in the part of the brain built for memorizing facts. But trust lives somewhere much older, somewhere emotional, somewhere automatic. And in a real moment, the automatic system wins. There's another layer to this, and it's about authority. Children are raised, almost from birth, to obey adults. Listen to your teacher. Listen to your babysitter. Listen to grown-ups when they tell you what to do. This isn't a bad thing. It's often necessary for safety and learning. But it creates a strange side effect. A small, quiet rule gets written into a child's mind. Adults are in charge. Adults know what's right. If an adult asks me to do something, I should probably do it. Now picture a stranger using that exact wiring against a child. Not with force, just with confidence. A calm voice. A simple instruction. To a child's brain, that voice sounds identical to every trustworthy adult voice they've ever obeyed. This is why the most effective safety training doesn't focus on strangers looking scary. Real danger almost never looks scary. It looks calm. It looks friendly. It looks exactly like every other adult a child has learned to trust. There's also something happening at a deeper, almost architectural level. It has to do with how the brain files away risk. Young children have an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for weighing consequences, imagining future outcomes, and detecting subtle threats. Neuroscientists have long pointed to this region as one of the last parts of the brain to fully mature, often not until the mid-20s. In a small child, it's barely online at all. So when an adult approaches with a friendly tone, the child's brain isn't running a background check. It isn't calculating probability of harm. It's simply responding to the immediate emotional signal. Warm voice, smiling face, feels safe. This is actually the same system that makes toddlers trust their parents so completely, that makes them run into open arms without a second thought, that makes them believe every promise you make even when you fully intend to break it by accident 5 minutes later. The trust that makes your child adorable at home is the exact same trust that makes them vulnerable outside of it. So what actually works if simple warnings don't? Researchers studying child safety education have found something counterintuitive. Rules like never talk to strangers often fail because real life doesn't match the rule. Children talk to unfamiliar adults constantly. Teachers, coaches, store employees, friends of the family they've technically never met. The rule becomes impossible to consistently apply, so kids quietly stop applying it altogether. What tends to work better is teaching children to trust their own physical feelings. Not who someone is, but how a moment feels. Studies on body-based safety education suggest that children as young as 4 can be taught to notice a specific sensation, sometimes called the "oh" feeling, that shows up in their stomach or chest when something feels wrong, even if they can't explain why. This bypasses the underdeveloped reasoning system entirely and taps into something more instinctive, something closer to what keeps animals safe in the wild. It also helps to remove secrecy from the equation. Most unsafe situations involving children rely on one simple ingredient: a secret. Teaching a child that no adult should ever ask them to keep something from their parents removes one of the most common tools used to manipulate trust. And here's the twist that reframes everything. Your child's trust in strangers isn't a bug in their programming. It's the same trust that lets them believe you when you say monsters aren't real. The same trust that lets them fall asleep in a room they can't fully see. The same trust that lets them learn language, learn kindness, learn how to be a person by copying every adult who ever smiled at them. The goal was never to make your child distrust people. The goal is to help their instincts catch up to their environment, one small skill at a time, until the same open heart that makes them wonderful also knows how to protect itself. So the next time your child walks up to a stranger with that easy, trusting smile, remember what's actually happening underneath it. It isn't naivety. It's ancient wiring doing exactly what it was built to do. And your job isn't to shut that wiring off. It's to help it grow up.